the steal! Stop the steal!
I mean, we cannot let them steal this election away from the American people.
A movement of MAGA voters who do not trust Georgia's 2020 election results.
We know a state that's always been red is not blue.
They cheated and they rigged our presidential election.
I'll be darned if they're going to take away our free and fair vote!
One of those skeptics is Marc Nolan.
I am skeptical because, you know, almost every election, there's fraud. Someone will say, well, it's not mass fraud. Well, if you got a history, whether it's 10 people or 10,000 people, fraud is still fraud.
Among his concerns, he doesn't trust the state's mail-in ballot boxes.
Why do we need these special boxes? And there's thousands of them, I understand.
And he has little confidence in Georgia's voter machines or its ability to investigate fraud.
And again, just from my limited knowledge, what I see is that there really isn't any accountability.
Doubtful the 2020 results, but willing to learn more. And over the next few weeks, he'll get his chance. Not from us, but from 4 of the state's top election experts, including Georgia's Secretary of State. Marc's conducting the interviews. He's asking the questions. And then he'll tell us what he learned.
Here he comes.
But first, it's time to get to know Marc.
All right, here we go.
We met him at his home in Woodstock, Georgia.
Hello. Hey, how you doing?
Good to see you. Marc is 67 years old, married with 2 children, a proud Army veteran, former tech CEO,
Well-struck ball.
and a current football coach who trains kickers trying to get into the NFL.
Good drill working.
A skill that comes naturally for him.
A long field goal.
In 1978, he briefly kicked for the Philadelphia Eagles.
All you gotta do is put both hands out here.
But not so easy for the uncoordinated like myself.
Here we go.
Even under his expertise.
Oh! Well, the object isn't kick the ball. Come on, up!
I think I got like a foot off the ground on that one.
Up! Hey, you made contact. That's awesome.
That actually kind of hurts.
There's no crying and kicking. There's no feelings here. Feelings, nothing more than feelings. There is no feelings.
My feeling of my foot feels like it's broken, so what about those feelings?
Well, those feelings are ice packs. I have one kid I trained who's in 6th grade, who actually won 2 games last year.
And I'm sure they're better than me.
And they are better than you.
Time to take a time out from this embarrassment on the field and get back to the subject at hand and why Marc and so many Republicans do not trust Georgia's 2020 election results. Over the past year, Marc repeatedly posted his concerns on social media. The day after the November election, he wrote, "Power-hungry DNC politicians have stolen elections." And he criticized former Georgia Republican Senator Kelly Loeffler, writing, "You sadly are not a fighter," for declining to challenge the election results hours after the attack on the U.S. Capitol.
And I cannot now in good conscience object to the certification.
You have some really strong opinions. Do you think that you can keep an open heart and an open mind?
Absolutely. I mean, that's one thing about having strong opinions, is that my opinions can be changed based on facts. Hey, look, I'm going to propose my questions so it's not confrontational.
I think that's a good answer.
That's a good answer, right? That's what I want to do. I don't want to be, because that's not my goal.
It's now time for Marc to hit the road and put his promise of civility to the test, meeting his first expert here in Columbus, Georgia, at the Muscogee County Election Office. She's Nancy Boren, the county's election director for 26 years. She sits on Georgia's Elections Advisory Council and the U.S. Elections Assistance Commission, which helps set national standards.
Here he is. My blind date.
Good morning.
How are you?
Awesome. How are you?
I'm
Marc
good.
Nolan.
I'm Nancy Boren.
Marc wastes no time putting Nancy in the hot seat.
Ready to go?
First, asking about thousands of voters the Republican Party claimed should not have been on the registration rolls in 2020.
I'm actually holding a list of those over 4,000 registered Muscogee County voters who
Muscogee County historically leans Democrat. The county's GOP chairman initiated the challenge.
Can you let us know where that case finally closed on? I haven't been able to find it.
The Board of Elections voted to challenge all 4,000 of those voters. We were one of 2 counties in Georgia that followed on to that challenge. And they did it based on my recommendation. I went and looked at some of the voters, and it appeared that some of them had perhaps moved out of state. And so I presented that information to the Board of Elections, and that 5-member board voted unanimously to challenge all 4,000 of those voters.
Lawsuits and appeals were filed in federal court. In the end, Nancy verified nearly all of the challenged voters lived in the county and were eligible.
We had 2 voters that remained on that challenged list.
Out of the 4,000? Mm-hmm. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Everyone else verified.
Next, Marc has questions about Georgia's voting machines it purchased from a company called Dominion.
Okay, I'm a technology guy, so.
He's not a fan, and he wishes all states used the same machines.
Can you imagine the firmware, the computer, the hardware, the voting machines that would be necessary for that? And I don't know that there's a company that's robust enough to do that at this point.
And we could put a man on the moon.
True, absolutely.
Do you believe we have a gold standard in the state of Georgia from what happened, from the results in 2020?
So I don't believe there is a gold standard of voting equipment. I think it has to be a combination of everything. I think it has to be voter usability, election official usability, safety, security, ability to transport. If you think about it, we conduct an election at the most 5 days a year, and that's in a presidential election. I'm confident in the outcome of the election from 2020.
Time to say goodbye to Nancy.
Okay, well, thank you. Appreciate your time.
And check in with Marc.
All right, Marc, you just had your first interview with an expert. What did you think?
If Nancy is, Ms. Boren's the same as everybody else, they should rest assured that, we are in good hands from the people who are running the elections committee things. I think some of the questions I challenged her on, she has some great answers. And I came away impressed.
After talking to Nancy, where's that confidence level?
And Nancy's confidence level, I'd say in her county, 100%.
Confident in Muscogee County's 2020 election results, but not statewide.
No, I don't have that same level of confidence.
Up next, Marc heads to the state capitol to sit down with Georgia's Secretary of State in charge of elections and a state employee he once attacked on social media.
So he wouldn't respond to me, right? And I threw something out there on Twitter. It was right after that, is pretty much when I got banned.